Picture this. You're staring out into the vast, totally unforgiving expanse of the dark Atlantic Ocean at night. Massive waves are just crashing against the hull of a lonely 19th century sailing ship. Thick fog is rolling over the water, and sudden flashes of dramatic lightning light up the sky, revealing a vessel. But it's completely adrift. There's no one at the helm, nobody on deck. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into one of the most chilling and, frankly, most baffling narratives in maritime history. We're going to examine the stark facts, the timeline, and the bizarre clues left behind on a ship that literally just emptied out. So, the million-dollar question: what actually happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste? I want us to really put on our detective hats today. We aren't just looking at a ghost story here. We're looking at a historical mystery scene set right out on the open ocean. We've got a ship, we've got evidence, and we have an absolute unexplainable absence of the people who are supposed to be on board. I mean, how does a massive sailing ship just become a ghost ship? Let's wind the clock back to see exactly how this whole voyage started. Section 1. The Golden Departure. You know, this story is really defined by its sharp contrasts. We start in 1872, with the ship departing from New York Harbor. And for the first few days into the voyage, she's sailing through perfectly calm waters, strictly going according to plan. But then, we hit a complete black box. Just this totally unknown time frame of hours where the mysterious abandonment actually takes place. And finally, days later, we get the eerie discovery of the drifting ship. It's wild. One moment, it's a routine crossing, and the next, a complete void of human presence. But we have to remember, this mystery is grounded in very real human lives. We aren't just talking about a wooden boat floating in the water. We are talking about Captain Benjamin Briggs. And crucially, it wasn't just some rugged crew of sailors. Captain Briggs actually had his family on board with him as they sailed out into that beautiful golden sunset. They were dressed in the heavy clothing of 1872, looking forward to reaching their destination under full sails. Remembering that an entire family was on board makes the ultimate fate of this voyage so much more tragic, and the mystery that much deeper. Moving on to Section 2, the eerie discovery. Okay, put yourself in the shoes of the sailors on another ship just passing through the Atlantic. You spot a vessel out in the distance. As your ship gets closer, you naturally look for a wave from a deckhand, right? Or maybe a shout from the captain. But as you peer through that dense fog, all you see is an empty deck. No movement, no figures standing at the rails. It's just a 19th century sailing ship drifting aimlessly. The sudden realization that something is terribly, terribly wrong here would be absolutely jarring. Eerie silence. That's really the only way to describe it. As the sailors pull up alongside the Mary Celeste, the only sounds are the creaking of the wood and the sloshing of the ocean against the hull. The maritime dread of finding a completely abandoned ship at sea is profound. In the 1800s, the ocean was already this terrifying, isolated place. To find a fully intact ship just floating like a ghost in the fog, that is the ultimate sailor's nightmare. What could possibly compel an entire crew and a family to abandon a perfectly good ship? Section 3. Investigating the ghost ship. Imagine the heavy, rapid heartbeat of those investigators as they walk down those narrow wooden steps into the ship's interior. They're exploring these empty cabins by dim lantern light, and the living quarters are completely deserted. They're calling out for Captain Briggs, searching for his family, checking the crew bunks. But nothing. The dim lantern light is casting these long, mysterious shadows against the walls, but it reveals absolutely no sign of a struggle and zero sign of life. Now, here is where the story pivots from a mere tragedy to a legendary mystery. The investigators step into the dining area and find plates of untouched food just left out on the table. This is incredibly chilling. It tells us that whatever happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste, it happened with terrifying suddenness. Think about it. You don't sit down for a meal and then casually decide to abandon ship. Something interrupted them, something so urgent or so terrifying that they dropped everything in that exact moment. So let's summarize the facts of this mystery scene. First, like we just talked about, the untouched food on the tables. Second, personal belongings were completely abandoned. Clothes, valuables, all left right where they belonged. Third, the navigational maps were left behind. And fourth, the ship's journals remained on board. The absolute crucial takeaway here is this: no captain willingly abandons his ship without his maps, his journals, or his essential gear. The fact that these items were left behind suggests absolute panic or an event entirely outside the bounds of natural logic. That brings us to Section 4, Theories in the Fog. Let's walk through the primary theories that have dominated this mystery for well over a century now. Did a sudden, violent storm strike the ship, maybe making the captain believe they were going down? And if so, did the crew flee in a lifeboat, only to be swallowed by the sea while the Mary Celeste miraculously survived the storm without them? Or was it something supernatural? There are endless tales of ghostly fog and mysterious shadowy silhouettes pulling the crew down into the deep. We're basically left with this dilemma between natural and supernatural explanations. On one side, we have harsh maritime reality, a sudden, terrifying storm leading to a panicked evacuation in a lifeboat that tragically sank. Makes sense, right? But on the other side, we have the supernatural theories, ghostly fog, mysterious silhouettes, unexplained forces. And while the logical side of our brains leans toward the storm and the lifeboat theory, the sheer bizarre nature of an intact ship with untouched food just keeps pulling people back to those eerie, haunting possibilities. The total lack of concrete evidence makes both sides enduring parts of the ship's mythos. Section 5. An enduring maritime mystery. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this haunting image of the Mary Celeste, drifting all alone under the moonlight, heading into a dark, foggy horizon. Will that horizon ever reveal the true fate of the ship? We've got the timeline from 1872. We have the chilling evidence of untouched meals and abandoned maps. And of course, we have the theories of storms versus silhouettes. But the ultimate answer? That vanished right alongside Captain Briggs and his crew. So what do you think happened in those unknown hours? It's the kind of mystery that really forces us to stare into the fog of the unknown. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the unknown.